Okay, so back when I was in high school, one thing I do realize is that there was a lot of fat chicks in my high school. And I know a lot of people right now in the comments down below are probably going to be like, oh, Bubba, you shouldn't make fun of fat people. Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. I will make fun of fat people. And honestly, I will tell you this much. I am feeling a little base today. So make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys want more stories like this one. But other than that, let's get straight into it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome back to another insane story. So like the title says, yes, this ended up happening to me in the most weirdest way possible. It all starts back when I was in grade 9. You see, in grade 9, I was taking a theater class. And the reason I was taking theater is because I had a really bad stutter back when I was in high school. And in this theater class, I remember partway through the semester, there was a girl in our class who was, well, really obese. Now, I'm not gonna lie, she did get picked on a lot. Not only from me, but from many others. And a lot of people were claiming that, you know, basically all the people that made fun of her were fat phobic and that the leadership team and the LGBTQ community would like be there and support her and stuff. When in reality, I think the only thing that needed support was for her to hit the damn gym. But other than that, I remember back when I was in high school, I was like pretty skinny, I'm not gonna lie. And she would always like try to make a comeback at me saying, oh, like you're anorexic. Yeah, but at least I can walk without making a stomp on the ground is what I would usually say. I'm not gonna lie. After that comment though, I did end up getting in trouble and going to the principal's office. Until I remember one day out of nowhere, I remember in the middle of theater class, I was talking to this girl that was apparently friends with the fat girl in our theater class. And basically she was telling me how, you know, she was picked on her whole entire life and the only way she resolved to herself was stress eating. Now me, I never understood stress eating. Like when I'm stressed out about something, I try to figure out a way to fix the problem, but I guess eating is an alternative for some people. So I remember I basically ended up saying like how I would basically start being nice to the girl and that I will stop picking on her. Even though I kept doing it in my head, I knew it was probably not right for me to make fun of her and kept saying it. So I remember one time in theater class, me and her, we ended up pairing up for a project where we had to like speak lines to each other and like do like some kind of, I don't know, role play sort of thing. And I remember basically me and her, we ended up doing a scenario where we were a couple. So me, obviously, I ended up doing my role and I'm not gonna lie, in theater, I aced it. I was really good at acting like something I'm not. But anyways, going on, I remember when me and her, we were like basically going through the lines, she ended up saying something that really made me feel queasy. She ended up saying, oh, like, do you want to like make out during one of the scenes? Wait, what? Is what I said. To be honest, now a lot of people might call me fat phobic for this, but every time I looked at her mouth, I always felt like she was gonna eat me. And not to mention, she weighed double my body weight back in high school. So obviously for me, I decided to like kind of like tell her no, like, you know, I'm not really like interested in doing that. And she took that offensively. I remember right after I said no to her, she ended up going to the teacher saying, oh my goodness, Bubba doesn't want to be my partner. He doesn't want to fit the role properly. He's literally gonna make me fail this project. Can I change my partner? What do you mean I'm gonna make you fail the project? You want to kiss me is what I ended up saying. And the teacher ended up sending me back to the principal's office just because her feelings were gonna get hurt if I didn't. It's crazy how some people get their way just because they have a problem with themselves. Anyways, I remember later on that week when it was lunchtime, I was basically sitting down eating my grilled cheese sandwich that my mom made me. And as I was eating it, I remember out of nowhere, I ended up seeing my friend walk up to me saying, yo, Bubba, I got some crazy news to tell you, bro. You're gonna laugh at this. And I ended up asking him, oh, like what's going on? He ended up telling me that apparently out of nowhere that the fat girl in our theater class ended up having a crush on me. Now, don't get me wrong. I do appreciate that, you know, there are girls out there that have a crush on me. But at the same time, if I'm not interested in you whatsoever and even gone to the point of making fun of you, why in the world do you have a crush on me? So I remember I looked at my friend and told him, bro, you gotta be pranking me, right? And right as you know it, out of nowhere, on the left side of the cafeteria near the entrance, I ended up seeing the fat girl looking at me and basically waving at me in the most weirdest way possible. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I basically at that point almost puked up my grilled cheese sandwich that I was enjoying so much. But at the same time though, I didn't want to be mean, so I ended up waving back. When I waved back, I remember she ended up giggling, freaking out, and stomping her way to the theater classroom since that was our next class. At that point, I knew if I went to theater, something bad's gonna happen, and I don't want it to happen, but you know what? It is what it is. I remember the bell rang for lunch to be over and I ended up going to my theater classroom. And when I walked inside, I remember I saw all the students sitting in a circle waiting for the teacher. And apparently for some reason, the teacher wasn't actually there. We don't know where the teacher went. I have no idea what happened to her, but for some reason, the teacher didn't show up. So basically from there, I remember me and the class decided to do something to basically wait for the teacher. Some kids wanted to do exercises. Some kids wanted to do their own homework that they missed out on. But then out of nowhere, I ended up hearing the fat girl in our classroom yell,
"Oh my goodness, I have a great idea. Why don't we like all play like truth or dare?"
"What?" is what I ended up saying. And that's when I knew things were gonna go south. Basically, I remember right after she ended up yelling that we should play truth or dare, I was kind of freaking out thinking this is probably the dumbest idea ever. Because obviously, I don't want to play truth or dare with a fat girl, right? Because that could lead to a lot of things. And from all the times I play truth or dare, it usually ends up me being in a bedroom with them doing the
devil's tango.
But basically, I remember from there, we all ended up sitting in a circle, feeling bad for the fat girl because no one really listened to her. So we ended up just listening to her anyway because out of pity, I guess. And when we all sat in a circle, I remember we all ended up basically playing this game. We all ended up going around saying truth or dare. Some dares were like, you know, lick the wall. Some were like throw a chair at a door or something. I don't know. We ended up doing a lot of dumb stuff. But at the same time, we were only in high school. And then I remember afterwards, right after that whole thing happened, the fat girl ended up asking me a question saying,
"Okay, Bubba, a truth or dare?"
I remember I looked at her and I knew if I said dare, she's gonna make me go under her rules or something. So I ended up saying, I'll take truth. Is what I ended up saying. And she ended up looking at me saying,
"Okay, what's your favorite feature about me?"
As much as I wanted to say nothing at all, I basically ended up saying how I liked her shirt. And then she ended up responding back saying,
"Oh, I bet you'll like it off, don't you?"
And ended up basically raising her eyebrows at me in the most awkward way possible. At this point, I was really actually willing to gurp in my mouth and just basically end this whole game and I don't know, maybe just figure out something else. But after a while, a lot of people started getting the hint that this girl liked me, you know, the really obese one in our classroom. So my buddy thought it was funny to basically ask her to do a dare to basically kiss me in front of everyone. I remember I ended up basically standing up saying, "No, I am not doing this whatsoever." And out of nowhere, a rhinoceros ended up walking up to me, aka the fat girl, and ended up basically kissing me on the lips. But not only that, I ended up tumbling and falling on my back while she laid on top of me, and I almost ran out of oxygen and passed out. I thought I was gonna die. I was literally suffocating. But as she was laying on top of me, I remember this girl ended up putting her hand, her giant, enormous Dwayne The Rock Johnson hands on my eggplant. She literally grabbed it and squeezed as she was laying on top of me. Now, at this point, I don't know what was suffocating more, me or my eggplant, but I knew I was gonna die. I remember everyone in the classroom was just kind of staring at us thinking, whoa, like, was this supposed to happen? And basically thinking that this was like some kind of romantic scene in a movie. But that wasn't even the worst part. I remember the teacher ended up walking in, our theater teacher that was supposed to be there a long time ago, ends up walking in and saying, "Oh, are you guys like practicing for a scene? Are you trolling right now?" In my mind, I was thinking, what scene could we possibly be practicing? Like 365 days of obesity? At this point, I knew I was literally suffocating and I didn't know what to do. So I remember out of nowhere, I decided to do the one thing that almost every female would basically stay away from, and that was farting. Yes, I literally decided to fart as loud as I can, and since my butt was facing the ground, you already know the ground trembled. I remember everyone ended up hearing my fart, and they all looked at me saying, "Oh my goodness, Bubba, did you fart?" And at that point, I remember the fat chick ended up finally letting go of my eggplant that was enormous, and she literally said,
"Oh, Bubba, you're so stinky,"
and basically ended up running away. Thank God that was the tactic to get her running away from me, because honestly, at that point, I knew my farts were a savior. My farts saved the day. Now, one thing I will mention before ending this story is that I don't condone bullying, but at the same time, if you need to bully someone to get their way, probably for the best. Okay, so one funny thing that I learned growing up is that girls toot and boys fart. Okay, now another thing I learned growing up is that that's a pure lie. Girls fart the same way guys do, except they try to do it more silent because I guess they're more ladylike. I have no idea. But when it comes to the bathroom slash restroom slash washroom, whatever you call it, let's just say what goes on down there should be nobody's business. But before I do get into this crazy story, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And on top of that, if you guys haven't joined the Discord server, I highly advise it. I might one day even tell your guys' stories on the channel. So please join the Discord server. Link is down below. But other than that, let's get straight into this crazy, insane insane, awesome story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So today's story I'm gonna be telling you guys is something that is really kind of gross. So this is a fair warning to all the people out there. You know, I'm not gonna get into too much detail, but it is disgusting. So for all those people with like a really weak stomach, I highly advise don't watch this video if you're eating. So finish your food. I'll wait. Actually, I'm not, because I just realized this is a video. And basically, when you guys are ready, resume with the video. Anyways, going on. I remember back when I was in middle school. This was my grade 8 year, and this was like the year right before I get to high school. And I remember there was one girl in our school who was, well, how do I put this? She was really a big one, as you may say. I don't know. I don't really like fat shaming on the channel, but in reality, when a person's fat, like, I think we all know they're fat. Like, I hate to break it to you. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm there for body positivity and stuff, but you know, from first glance, if you see someone that's fat, they're fat. Like, I hate to break it to you. I'm not one to change society. I'm not one to change the world here, but we all know that feeling. And basically in our school, I remember there was this kind of big chick in our school, and she was like kind of like, you know, she was interesting. And then I remember in my grade 8 year, me and her, we would like talk as friends and stuff, and she was like kind of like, she was just cool and stuff. I remember like she was actually a pretty smart girl. And out of nowhere, I remember me and her, we ended up getting a science project together. We were in science class together, and she would always help me with science because, well, she was a smart one. And me in science, well, I wasn't that great. So I remember we had a science lab to do together, and basically she decided to be my partner, and basically our assignment was to make a volcano. I think we all know this typical project that most teachers let us do. Like basically you get like some cool like chemicals, and it's like, woo, volcano. Yeah, we basically had to do that project. I remember me and her, we had to like do it in a span of 3 days. And I remember for one of those days, we really needed to get it done. Because the first 2 days, I'm not gonna lie, the whole time I was on my phone watching Jacksepticeye as she was doing most of the work. But she needed help with like the actual like painting and stuff. And she told me I was a very creative kid, which is kind of nuts because I'm not that creative. But going on, she told me how like she needed my help with it, but we didn't have time to do it at school. So I remember she ended up telling me, is there any way to do it at like your house? Because like my house is like really like occupied, and my dad doesn't want me bringing guys over. So I remember I ended up messaging my mom saying, hey mom, I need to do a science project. Can I bring this girl over? My mom's like, ooh, is it a girl you like? And then I ended up sending a picture of her to my mom, and she kind of just understood what I meant. I know, kind of weird, but going on with the story. I remember she ended up coming over to my house, and when she came over to my house, me and her were working on this volcano. I was just doing the painting and stuff, and you know, we were doing all the chemicals, and we ended up doing a test run on this volcano, and it ended up working perfectly. But I don't know for some reason why, but my mom ended up bringing us some chili and garlic bread to like eat while working on the project, and God, was that the biggest mistake of her damn life, because you guys will see. Going on, I remember we ended up eating that garlic bread and chili and stuff, and when we were running the test run, we did like a couple of them to make sure it worked, and things ended up working great. But out of nowhere, my stomach started hurting, so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go quickly to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom, I did my relief, because we all know what chili and garlic do. But out of nowhere, as I'm sitting on the toilet about to use my beautiful bidet, out of nowhere, I just literally hear slamming on the door. Bum, bum, bum. Bubba, I need to really go in there right now. Bubba, like, I really need to enter the bathroom. Please, can you come out? Me, I'm just kind of sitting there like, oh yeah, just give me a minute. I don't have a minute. I really need to go. And me in my head, I'm thinking, oh, okay, you know what? I should probably really get out of here. So me, I ended up standing up off the toilet with me not wiping. I know, disgusting. And basically, I pulled out my pants and ran out the bathroom. She ended up sprinting in there. And I remember, as I like saw her sprint in, I saw her like behind, and she was literally, I think there was like some brown stains on her pants. And I'm like, oh God. So I remember she ended up slamming the door on me, sitting down, and all I hear is the... It was disgusting. I hate to do that to you guys, but you guys don't understand. It was so gross. Like, it was like hearing a waterfall of like marshmallows and like hot chocolate. No, that sounds really good, actually. I would eat that. Sorry, going on. I remember that happened. It was ultimately the most disgusting thing ever. So me not wanting to hear that, I ended up going to the living room, and I basically sat down and waited until she got out because I still had to wipe. And I remember my mom ended up coming up to me saying, hey, is she okay in there, Bubba? She sounds very, very dying. And I'm like, oh yeah, she's probably just letting literally everything out of her system, is what I told her. Going on, I remember basically out of nowhere though, 10 minutes went by, and I walked up to the bathroom, and I'm like, hey, is everything okay in there? And instantly I hear her say, oh, don't worry about me. Just like, don't worry about it. Don't come in, please. I got this. She was legit panicking, like crazy panicking. And I have no idea why. Like, it was just a bathroom, and I still have to wipe. Like, hello. Anyways, I remember like I just let it go, and I just let her have her time in there. Me, I just kept painting the volcano and making it brown. But as I was painting it, out of nowhere, I remember my dad dad ends up coming home, and he came home like after like of her 20 minutes in the bathroom, and he went straight for the bathroom. But when he went for the bathroom, it was locked. And then as he was stepping around, he ended up splashing in like a little puddle. He got so upset at me, and he's like slamming on the door of the bathroom saying, "Papa, what did you do in there? Did you end up clogging the toilet?" And when I heard my dad say my name, I ended up going to the front of the bathroom door where he was, and I'm like, "Dad, what do you mean? I'm right here." My dad's so confused. He's like, "Who's in the bathroom if you're here?" And I'm like, "Oh, my friend's in there." He's like, "Oh, who's your friend?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a girl for the science project we're doing." My dad's like, "You brought a girl over to my house?" He ends up slamming the door even more, and I'm like, Dad, like, what's the issue?" And he's like, "She's clogging my toilet." What do you mean, Dad? I end up looking on the ground. I see there's a giant puddle, but this puddle was like a brownish kind of puddle. And from there, I'm like, no way this girl actually ended up clogging my toilet. Like, she clogged my legitimate toilet, bro. So I remember I was panicking. I'm like, "Hey, like, are you okay in there? I think the toilet's clogged." And I remember right after that, I hear washing of hands. And then after that, she opens the door and she's like, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do it. I'm so sorry. Oh my God." And I just see all over the ground is just urine and feces, and it was disgusting. If I could paint a picture, I think I would get demonetized. Like, it was that bad. I remember my dad's like saying how he doesn't want to go in there because, like, you know, it's not his own kids' urine and feces, it's someone else's, and it's just disgusting. And when my dad looked at the chick, he didn't really want to go in there even more. So like, I remember my dad ended up calling her dad, and basically they ended up like coming over and they tried fixing the toilet and stuff, and her dad was totally cool with it because apparently it happens a lot in their house. Yeah, really awkward. And basically, as me and her were finishing up the volcano, I remember they were just trying to fix the bathroom, and let's just say 2 things erupted that day. I don't know, funny joke. At least that's what I thought. And yeah, the next day we ended up getting an A on the project because we really got the eruption right. Okay, I'm done. But anyways, guys, that's basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And on top of that, join the Discord server. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys join the Discord and I get to talk to you guys about crazy stories like this one. Anyways, like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. I remember when me and my friends got to this girl's house. No joke, all the girls looked fantastic. But when I saw all my homies go towards the girls they wanted and that they were talking to already, I realized that the one and only girl that was left was, well, let's just say I was taking one for the team. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to the insane but super embarrassing story. So today's story all takes place back in my grade 11 year, and in grade 11, I'm not gonna lie, I was a major player. I've said this many times on the channel, and I know you guys are probably getting sick of it, but I gotta really make sure you guys understand that I would literally do anything that walked. I know how bad that sounds, but you gotta understand, no joke, I was just that much of a player. Anyways, going on with the story, I remember I was walking to the cafeteria, headed to go see the boys that I usually hang out with. And the boys were usually just a group of 5 guys, including me, that would always just hang out, do crazy shenanigans, and play video games together all the time. Back throughout middle school and high school, it was very common for a guy to have a group that would be considered the boys for them. But I remember one time when I was walking up to them to go see what they were doing in the cafeteria, I ended up seeing they were all talking about one of my homies' girlfriends. Because in my grade 11 year, apparently one of the boys ended up scoring one of the hot cheerleaders in our high school. And I remember when the boys were sitting in the cafeteria that day, they were all basically looking on this guy's phone, and they were scrolling through his girlfriend's Instagram to find hot friends that she had. This wasn't uncommon for guys to do, and honestly, I ended up joining in to see, you know, if there was anything for me or anyone that I could at least be interested in. But I remember I got there too late, and all of them already chose what girls they were gonna go for in that friend group. So I ended up basically not being able to decide what I wanted. It kind of sucked, and even though I could have gone behind someone's back and totally pulled a girl that was one of her friends, I'm gonna be honest, I just didn't want to play it that way. Because if there was one code I wasn't gonna break, it was the bro code. But anyways, going on with the story, I remember as they were all sitting down, basically, like, you know, trying to slide, I ended up sitting there going, well, is there anything at least left for me that's like, you know, at least a hot girl? I'm not really sure, Bubba. I can ask my girlfriend though if you want. I ended up saying no, don't tell your girlfriend, because honestly, I didn't want his girlfriend thinking that I was basically desperate. And well, one thing led to another. Throughout the entire school day, apparently, for some reason, my phone kept going off over and over and over and over again. And every time I went to go check it to see if it was a girl DMing me, it ended up being the boys group chat and how my friends were pulling the girls that they wanted. I ended up getting super annoyed and kind of just, I don't know, jealous in a way because, well, like I wanted to shoot my shot. Like I wanted a chance as well with one of the hot girl cheerleaders that apparently my friend's girlfriend's friends with. Yeah, that was a tongue twister. When the school day ended, I remember I started to basically head to my car to head home. And as I was walking there, out of nowhere, my homie runs up to me. He runs up to me in my car and he says, yo, Bubba, bro, me and all the guys are going to my girlfriend's place later. And honestly, man, like apparently there's
still like one girl left, and she's apparently coming over to my girlfriend's place tonight. So for her not to be alone, would it be cool if like, you know, you showed up? I ended up getting super excited, and I'm like, hell yeah, like I'll be there. Sure, why not? Everyone's got a girl. That's perfect. And basically I ended up shaking his hand, dabbing him up, and I ended up getting inside my car and driving home. When I got home, I got pretty hyped up, and I remember I kept asking in the boys group chat if anyone knew what this girl looked like, just so I know what I'm working with. But apparently no one knew her, and she was a girl from out of town. And I started to kind of worry, because every time I've heard of a girl coming out of town to, well, our town, I always knew that there was a 50-50 chance that this girl could either be super ugly and super not my type, to being super attractive and a 10 out of 10, with a little bit of crazy, because no girl's perfect. But I remember as I was getting ready, I kept asking in the group chat anyway, and still no one had an answer. And when it was finally time for me to meet up with the boys to go to the get together, I ended up basically getting in my car, driving there, and that's when I got a phone call. I got a phone call from my friend's girlfriend, and to be honest, I did not know she had my number. But when I answered it, I said, hey, I didn't know you had my number. What's up? Hey, are you coming to the get together tonight? My boyfriend didn't tell me if you were coming over or not. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be coming over. I thought your boyfriend already told you. Oh no, I was just confirming. Okay, perfect. Cause like my girlfriends are here, and like one of them's like super excited to meet you. At that moment, I really wanted to ask if she could send a photo of this chick to me, but I didn't want to be weird. So I ended up saying, oh yeah, like I'm super excited as well. I remember I heard some girls in the background basically like, getting excited that I was coming over. And when I finally met up with the boys, all the guys were like super hyped up to go meet up with these girls. We all ended up getting in my car, and when I drove down there, I remember when I walked through the front door, we ended up seeing all the girls on the couch just chilling. And when all these guys ended up walking up to the chick that they were talking to throughout the entire school day that day, I ended up realizing that there was no chick left for me. So I ended up looking at my buddy's girlfriend and said, oh, I thought there was gonna be another girl here. And that's when a girl ended up popping up behind me, and she said, oh yeah, that would be me. At that point, I turned around and I saw this girl was the most ugliest chick I've ever seen. Like usually on this channel, I don't fat shame. I try not to be, you know, super toxic, but for this one moment, let me be, okay? Because this girl was ugly, overweight, and I'm not joking, she was just very not it. Like it was really not it, to the point where even all the other guys knew in the room that this chick was just the saddest thing to look at. I remember my friend's girlfriend ended up walking up to me as well, and she's like, Bubba, this is one of my girlfriends. She is honestly amazing, and no joke, like she's one of the smartest girls ever. At that moment, I shook her giant hand, and I was not even joking. I wanted to puke. I wanted to basically get out of there, and I just wanted to leave and never come back. But I remember my buddy ended up walking up to me, and he looked at me and said, yo, Bubba, can I talk to you in the other room for a sec? Yeah, sure, is what I said, and I ended up going to the other room. When I got there, I remember I ended up looking at him, and I said, bro, you gotta be joking. Listen, man, I didn't know, like, that's what she looked like. I'm gonna be honest, but honestly, bro, you have to take one for the team. Wait, what? Why? Because, Bubba, you gotta understand, man, like, you're our ride, and, like, it's gonna be embarrassing if you leave, and, like, she's just gonna basically stop us from ever getting with these girls. You're worried that she's gonna be a cock block? Yeah, bro, so, like, you gotta stay with us. You understand? Just take one for the team. At that moment, I knew what he was asking me to do, and honestly, he was right. As much as I really wanted to leave, boys, you gotta understand, I had to take one for the team. So I remember throughout that whole time of all of us hanging out, we're all just sitting on the couch, watching a movie, passing popcorn to each other, and I think we were watching Star Wars, funny enough. And no joke, out of nowhere, in the middle of the movie, right as we were like in the middle of like watching a battle, apparently everyone started making out with each other except me and this big massive chick. At that moment, I ended up looking at her, and she looked at me, and she like kind of like started cuddling me and stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, like I wanted to social distance myself from her, but I felt bad because I knew I was supposed to take one for the team. So I remember as me and her got closer, I decided to basically make out with her, and no joke, I never tasted so much saliva in my mouth at once. Now I thought, could it get any worse? Like honestly, could it really get any worse? Well, it did, because I remember throughout the night, it ended up getting to the point where we all ended up like kind of like going into our own like rooms or areas in the house, I should say. And I ended up getting stuck with this girl, and she kept basically like putting her body against mine, and no joke, like I never felt so much pressure being pushed up against a wall before. And like I ended up like telling her like, so what do you do for work? Oh, I work at McDonald's. Really? Oh, that's no surprise. What do you mean by that? At that moment, I ended up like making up something on the spot and complimented her, and she like took this compliment so close to heart that no joke, she got even more interested in me, even though I just made fun of her for working at McDonald's. And as this girl was super happy, I remember she ended up coming close to me, and no joke, she ended up pushing me up against the wall, and she tried to basically yeah, let's just say she definitely wanted to do the devil's tango. But thank God, one of my buddies ended up walking into the room. He's like, yo, Bubba, we gotta head out soon. My mom needs me home. And at that moment, I ended up pushing her off me and said, oh, well, it was nice meeting you. Oh, yo, can I like get your number? Sorry, I don't have a phone. I ended up leaving, and no joke, I was the first one to get to my car and sat there, never wanting to leave. And when finally all the other guys got inside my car, all the girls were waving goodbye, except this one big chick ended up walking up to my driver's side door, ended up telling me to roll down the window and said, Baba, like, everyone says you have a phone. Why'd you tell me you didn't have one? I see it right there. At that moment, I just put my car in reverse and drove away. And yeah, no joke, I just basically never wanted to go to that house again if she was there. And also, she ended up leaving town, so I guess I was saved by her not being from where I'm from. But if you guys ever had to take one for the team, then follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.